Chapter 2381. To compete or not to compete. 3. Yi Qingtang suddenly spoke up again. You guys spent the whole afternoon with that kid from the Heaven Dome Academy? Momentarily taken aback, they paused for a moment before nodding in unison. Did he go anywhere during that period? The teenagers shook their heads. Xingrong played chess with us the entire time. He didn't leave for even a minute. Realization dawned upon Yi Qingtang. I see. The brats had no idea why Yi Qing suddenly asked such a question, but under the current circumstances, they didn't dare to ask any questions. So they obediently returned to their accommodations to reflect on their behavior. Yi Qingtang's stern expression faded as she watched their departing profiles. A bunch of troublemaking brats. She had to leave after the inter-academy competition, so she didn't have much time left to teach them. It was time for them to grow up. Not only did they have to improve their powers, but they also had to develop their minds and characters. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to achieve great things. Yi Qingtang sighed again before recalling something which Xingrong casually mentioned. Bringing along those 2 spirit jades, she went looking for Wenqi. Vice President, were the details about the inter-academy competition rule changes known even before today? Yi Qingtang asked directly. Wenqi couldn't help being taken aback by her question. He shook his head. No, the information is highly classified. We only knew that there would be some changes, but had no idea about the details at all. Why did you ask about that? Yi Qingtang frowned slightly as Wenqi's words affirmed her suspicions. Anxious from his defeat, Xingrong inadvertently disclosed something. It seemed that Xingrong had known that a teacher would lead this year's team competitions. But at that time, Yi Qingtang and the others had just returned from the briefing where the details were first announced. Xingrong had been with Lei Yin and the rest the entire time and did not have any interaction with the Heaven Dome Academy teachers. So how did he know of this information? Unless, the only possibility was that he already knew of the details of the changes from before. Although Yi Qingtang had initially suspected it, Wenqi's words only confirmed her conjecture. So Yi Qingtang immediately told Wenqi about Xingrong and handed the 2 spirit jades to him. You were saying that the Heaven Dome Academy student already knew of the details of the rule change. Wenqi had no time to rejoice at the 2 new spirit jades. His face was grave. Yi Qingtang nodded. Wenqi's face darkened even further. If that was true, then there was something off about the entire situation. Wu Fengling's connections were not inferior to any of the other academies. Even so, he only managed to learn that there would be changes to rules and not the details. But now, even a student from the Heaven Dome Academy knew of the details beforehand. Yi Qing, I will have someone investigate this matter. If the Heaven Dome Academy is the only one who had the early information, or that our Netherworld Academy is the only one who didn't know the details beforehand, when she started. If it was the former, things might not be that bad. If it was the latter, when she could not ascertain the truth behind this matter for now. But it was not the most pressing issue at large. Yi Qing, let me handle this matter. On a related topic, I plan to wait till tomorrow to discuss something with you all, but it looks like the sooner the better. Go and gather the other teachers. We need to quickly decide on how to deal with this year's inter-academy competition. Chapter 2382. Making a Choice. 1. Soon after, the Netherworld Academy teachers had all gathered. Since knowing of the rule changes, they had been deliberating over it nonstop. This year's inter-academy competition is very important to our academy. Does anyone have any thoughts? When she asked, the teachers all looked grave. No matter how one looked at it, the Netherworld Academy had no advantage at all for this year's inter-academy competition. Due to the storms, the mainland where the Netherworld Academy was situated was isolated from the other mainlands. Even if the family clans from the other mainlands had wanted to enroll their youths in the Netherworld Academy, they would give up in the end due to the relentless storms. Moreover, their mainland was somewhat different from the other mainlands. The sects flourished on their mainland. Due to the presence of the Temple of Paragon and the deep pockets of the family clans, they would choose to send their top talents to the stricter sects instead. This resulted in a dwindling number of elite youths enrolled in the Netherworld Academy. This situation had only worsened over time, contributing to the gradual decline of the Netherworld Academy. Vice President, apart from the team competition, there are not many changes to the other segments. Although we are not supposed to speak of some things, for fear of tarnishing our reputation, I must still speak up. Just looking at the martial arts segment, our Netherworld Academy has no advantage at all. One of the teachers spoke up in exasperation. There was a significant disparity between the top students from the Netherworld Academy and those from the other academies. For alchemy, Song Yinhan and Yun Shun might be able to win placements, but even if they successfully enter the top 10, we still need one more. Luo Sheng looked grim. As the Netherworld Academy had Elder Zhu, their medicine faculty was still coping well. And Yi Qing had produced Yun Shun, who had become another potential candidate. But the Netherworld Academy needed at least 3 Spirit Jades to be able to retain their permanent spot in the Inter-Academy competition. In your opinion, what are the chances of Qin Feng and Ran Mo winning in the competition? When Qi asked, the teachers exchanged looks. For a moment there, no one spoke. This silence was a good indication of what they were thinking on the inside. Although Ran Mo was very gifted, he was still too young. If he could continue training for a few more years, he would be able to stand out in the martial arts segment. As for Qin Feng, he should have been the best candidate, but due to his decline over the past few years, his progress had been delayed by quite a bit. If he hadn't met Yi Qing, Qin Feng might have just completely disappeared from everyone's radar. These two were very talented, but one was too young, while the other's progress had been delayed. Even with their current powers, they were still quite some distance behind the top students from the other academies. The group all felt that it was such a pity. If only they had another year to prepare for the Inter-Academy competition. Their Netherworld Academy would not end up in such a dismal state then. Only the top 10 would be selected in the martial arts segment, and both Qin Feng and Ran Mo were from the martial arts faculty. From what the teachers observed, all the other academies had over 20 Divine Lord 3rd Heaven level students. The Netherworld Academy had no chance of winning. When Qi was well aware of their situation, he had already mentally prepared for this, but faced with the truth now, he still couldn't help feeling depressed. All the while, Yi Qingtang silently observed the scene. She more or less had a clear idea of the Netherworld Academy's circumstances now. Chapter 2383. Making a Choice 2. Yi Qing, do you have any thoughts about this? When Qi looked towards Yi Qing, he and Wu Fengling planned to groom Yi Qing to become an important teacher in the Netherworld Academy in the future. Yi Qingtang pondered for some time before replying. Since there's a certain disparity between their powers, there is no need to waste any time worrying about that. Instead, I believe that we have a chance in the team competition. All the teachers were stunned. Even when Qi looked surprised at Yi Qingtang's words. Team competition? Teacher Yi, I am afraid we have no advantage in the team competition either. The individual powers of our martial arts students cannot compare to the other academies. Compounding the disparity by 10 times, the gap would only become wider. One of the teachers felt that Yi Qing was oversimplifying things. If the team competition was just a series of sparring matches, the gap would definitely become wider. But this year's team competition is different. Yi Qingtang explained. For this year's team competition, we need to kill the most number of demons within a period of time. We're not fighting against the other teams. Despite the reasoning, the other teachers still believed that Yi Qing was being too naive. Even if we are competing on the number of demons killed, the moment we enter the Wailing Well, the various teams will definitely resort to all sorts of nefarious methods in order to win. By then, it will not just be a simple matter of killing demons. The other academies will try their best to eliminate the competition while killing the demons. Don't forget that there are no rules stating that teams cannot fight each other. One of the teachers raised this point. With the current power level of the Netherworld Academy students, they would definitely lose if they had to fight the top teams of the other academies. I feel that it is still better to let Qin Feng and Ran Mo have a go. As long as one of them is able to enter the top 10, we should be okay, another teacher suggested. He was really not that optimistic about the team competition. Even in the past, the team competition had always been Netherworld Academy's weakest segment. After all, The Netherworld Academy had never won a single team competition before. The chances of Ran Mo and Qin Feng winning are close to zero, Yi Qingtang said suddenly. The faces of the teachers instantly darkened. Although Yi Qing was speaking the truth, wasn't it still too direct of him to say that? Ignoring those disapproving eyes, Yi Qingtang looked towards Wen Qi. If we make Qin Feng and Ran Mo compete in the martial arts sparring matches, not only are their chances near zero, the team competition would follow right after. By then, they would be drained after their sparring matches and not be as effective in the team competition. Yi Qingtang had her own plans. She had never been one to walk the usual pathways. In her previous life, she had experienced all sorts of dangerous situations, and she also knew that the Netherworld Academy teachers wanted to play it safe. But now that things had come to this, she could not allow them to insist on their conservative ways. Instead of placing our hopes on something which we already know that we have little chance of winning, why don't we take a risk on the team competition? Yi Qingtang persuaded. The Wailing Well was an unfamiliar place to all the academies, so everyone would be starting from the same point. In addition, Yi Qingtang would be personally leading the team. They might have a chance there. When she was deep in thought, Teacher Yi is asking us to actively give up on all the other segments apart from the team competition. Chapter 2384, Making a Choice. 3. Since we know we're going to lose, why don't we conserve our energy? Yi Qingtang asked. Conserve energy? Teacher Yi has never participated in an inter-academy competition before. Do you know that if the Netherworld Academy actively forfeits the preceding segments, the amount of criticism we would have to endure? So you're saying that the Netherworld Academy is not being criticized now? Yi Qingtang asked in a mild tone. The teachers all stiffened. From the moment the Netherworld Academy started to decline, the criticisms never ceased. I will consider this matter carefully. Everyone, please return first and think through it too. If anyone has any ideas, please let me know. When Qi spoke up, after imparting some other instructions, he allowed them to leave. Yi Qing, wait a moment. When Qi suddenly asked for Yi Qing to stay, the other teachers all looked surprised. Yi Qing had created quite a stir in the Netherworld Academy earlier, and they all acknowledged his powers. But he was still too young. The other teachers did not believe that Yi Qing was good enough to assume this responsibility. After everyone else departed, only Wen Qi and Yi Qing were left in the room. Vice President, do you have more instructions for me? Yi Qingtang asked. Wen Qi kept silent for a moment as he gazed at Yi Qing. He then spoke slowly. If you lead the team inside the Wailing Well for the team competition, what are your chances of winning? Yi Qingtang replied frankly, 30%. 30% was not that great of a number, but this was the highest percentage that Yi Qingtang could offer. After all, no one had ever really entered the Wailing Well before. But when Qi gave a sudden laugh, 30%? That's enough. With that, when Qi looked at Yi Qing, in reality, President Wu and I have already predicted the outcome of this inter-academy competition, and we do not have any high hopes for this year's competition. We just want to make use of this one last chance to let our students gain more experience. Their chances of winning in the martial arts segment were as good as zero. But Yi Qing was able to offer a 30% chance at winning the team competition. When Qi could see that although Yi Qing was young, he was very level-headed and capable when it came to handling things. His calm, competent manner was unlike that of a youth only in his 20s. Since you already have a plan, we will go along with your arrangements. I will settle everything else. When Qi gave his permission, Yi Qingtang was taken aback. Was Wen Qi agreeing just like that? You don't need to bother about the plans of the other teachers. The Netherworld Academy can spare a team to fight for a chance. But we cannot have everyone else give up on the martial arts segment. When Qi looked at Yi Qing with a grave expression. For some competitions, even though we know we will lose, we have no choice but to meet them. Yi Qingtang understood Wen Qi's meaning. There's something else. When Qi suddenly piped up, Vice President, please speak freely. When Qi continued, your elixir refinement skills are good enough. This year's team competition is full of unknown factors, and to be safe, there is no need to have another medicine faculty student on the team. When Qi was referring to Yunshun, the team needed to have someone who knew alchemy, but since Yi Qingtang was already very good at elixir refinement, there was no need to bring along a helpless medicine faculty student who might end up being a burden. Yi Qingtang looked at Wen Qi, vice president, when she thought that Yi Qing would be reluctant to leave out Yunshun. Yunshun is a good kid, and he will be able to prove himself in the alchemy competition. So there is no need for you to risk his life in the team competition. In response, Yi Qingtang only said simply, Yunshun is at the Divine Lord stage. When Qi. Chapter 2385. Endure 1. Yunshun is at the Divine Lord stage? When Qi felt that he must have misheard. Before the Netherworld Academy selection trials, Yi Qingtang had 6 students under her, and Yunshun was the only one from the medicine faculty. Under her guidance, the other 5 had broken through to the Divine Lord stage within a short period of time. They had become the hottest topic in the Netherworld Academy. Meanwhile, Yunshun's significant improvement in elixir refinement had also garnered much attention. As for the level of his martial art, no one paid much notice to that. As when Qi looked at her doubtfully, Yi Qingtang gave a steady nod of her head. When Qi, with Yunshun's martial arts level, it should not be a problem for him to come with us into the Wailing Well. Before Yi Qingtang could finish her sentence, when Qi waved. Let me think for a minute. Yi Qingtang, think about what? When Qi carefully considered Yi Qing's words. After confirming he had not misunderstood, he looked at her with a conflicted expression. Do you mean that Yunshun is already at the Divine Lord level now? Yi Qingtang nodded. When did he break through to that stage? When Qi asked again, Yi Qingtang replied, probably around the same time as Lei Yin and the others. When Qi gasped, Yunshun was part of the martial arts faculty when he first joined the Netherworld Academy. He only switched to the medicine faculty due to his physical issues. But was Yi Qing telling him now that Yunshun was already at the Divine Lord stage, and that he had broken through at around the same time as Lei Yin and the rest? When Qi's expression grew increasingly complicated. That's to say, all 6 of the students under you have already ascended to the Divine Lord level? Yi Qingtang nodded. When Qi felt rather flustered. All 6 had been handed over to Yi Qing at the same time, and every single one of them had a different problem. But somehow Yi Qing was able to bring all these 6 teenagers onto the Divine Lord level? Impossible. When Qi had been in teaching for several decades, but this was the first time he had encountered such a formidable teacher. Even Wu Fengling did not produce this level of success. What kind of wonderful freak of nature was this Yi Qing? All right, arrange things according to your plans. When Qi could no longer object, he was even thinking that he might have been too conservative in only giving Yi Qing 6 students then. If he had given him more, wouldn't they have more Divine Lord level students now? All right, Yi Qingtang replied. When Qi sighed, he looked at Yi Qing with gratitude. Yi Qing, you're even more exemplary than I imagined. But I must remind you of one point. Vice President, please go ahead. When Qi continued, I am permitting you to carry out your plan, but you must be mentally prepared. Ran Mo and Qin Feng are the 2 most talented martial students in our academy. They are under you now, and according to your arrangements, they cannot participate in the individual martial art competition. Apart from them, our other martial arts students have no chance at all of squeezing into the top 10. We will suffer a terrible defeat during that competition. When Qi had his own worries. After suffering that massive defeat, the entire Netherworld Academy would be full of dismay. And Yi Qing, who was the one who didn't allow Ran Mo and Qin Feng to participate, would definitely bear the brunt of that outrage. Chapter 2386. Endure 2. When Qi could permit Yi Qing's plan, but he would not be able to change the opinions of others. He was worried that Yi Qing would have to endure intense criticism following the decision. Some of the veteran Netherworld Academy teachers had been unconvinced of a teacher as young as Yi Qing. With Dean Nua's departure, even more teachers believed that Yi Qing was too impulsive. When Qi was worried that after the individual martial arts competition, Yi Qing would have to endure unprecedented pressure. I don't mind, Yi Qingtang replied. Wen Qi looked at Yi Qing with relief. After speaking a few more words with him, he allowed the youth to leave. The next morning, students from the various academies set off for the competition arena. Today, they would draw lots to see who their opponents would be. The exciting sparring competitions would officially begin today. Lei Yin and the others woke early and dressed themselves up neat and proper. They then stood in a row outside Yi Qing's room, waiting for their boss to lead them to the arena. But after waiting for some time, Yi Qing still hadn't opened her door. Did boss oversleep? Lei Yin murmured. Today was a big day. Why did their boss choose to oversleep today? Don't tell me we really angered boss that badly yesterday. Nan Gonglai asked sheepishly. The teenagers exchanged looks. They saw that nearly all of the students in North Hall had already left, but they couldn't decide whether they should knock on her door. In the end, Qin Feng looked at Mu Ziying. Little senior sister, we have to trouble you again. Qin Feng spoke earnestly. Mu Ziying, the brats knew very well that Yi Qing would never lose his temper at Mu Ziying. Their little senior sister was their lucky charm. They had never seen boss being fierce to her. Once again being forced by the others, Mu Ziying went forward to knock on the door in resignation. Boss, are you awake? Mu Ziying called out. Not long after Mu Ziying called out, the door was finally opened. Yi Qing had a coat hastily draped across his shoulders, his long, black hair casually pulled back in a loose ponytail. He did not look like someone who was prepared to head out at all. Boss, wake up. We won't be able to make it if we don't go now. Nan Gonglai urged. Go where? Yi Qingtang was still groggy. The drawing of lots for the sparring matches. Yi Qingtang yawned. You guys don't need to draw lots. Go back. What? The teenagers were all stunned. No need to draw lots? What was boss saying? But, Teacher Yi, what do you mean? Do you mean we don't need to be there personally for the drawing of the lots? The usually shy Qiu Nin asked in a timid manner. Yi Qingtang looked at their confused faces. I mean that you guys don't need to participate in the individual martial art competition. Yi Qing's words were like a bolt of lightning striking their heads. Boss, we know we were in the wrong. We are immature and ignorant. We are foolish and stupid. Please have mercy and give us a chance. We have already reflected on ourselves the entire night. Please don't be so angry anymore. Lei Yin was the first to snap out of his trance. He threw himself at Yi Qing's feet with a cry, clutching onto Yi Qing's thigh as he wailed pitifully. Their boss was so enraged by their behavior yesterday. Boss wanted to give up and didn't even want to let them participate in the inter-academy competition anymore. Chapter 2387. Endure 3. Yi Qingtang. Pulling the wailing Lei Yin off herself, she looked at him in disdain. At the same time, Qin Feng and others also looked at Yi Qing with eyes filled with dismay. They never expected Yi Qing to be so angry as to do something like this. What do they do now? Yi Qingtang felt a headache coming on. You guys don't need to participate in the individual martial arts competition. What you need to do now is to prepare yourselves for the team competition. Team competition? Lei Yin immediately stopped his wailing. He looked at Yi Qing in confusion. You guys don't have much chance of winning the martial arts segment. So, the vice president and I have arranged for our team to focus all our efforts on the team competition. Do you understand now? Yi Qingtang was really scared of Lei Yin's piercing cries. The teenagers heaved a sigh of relief at Yi Qing's words. Boss, so none of us will be participating in the individual martial arts competition. Jing Zhe asked cautiously. Yi Qingtang nodded. Yinshan asked, what about me? All competitors in the alchemy competition compete at the same time. You just head over when time comes. Yi Qingtang did not intend for Yinshan to give up his alchemy competition. After all, the alchemy competition would not damage his physical well-being. Jing Zhe and the others had no objection to Yi Qing's arrangements. They would do whatever their boss said. All was fine as long as boss wasn't angry. The reactions of Hang one way and the others were more complicated. They had been under Yi Qing for a shorter period of time and were still unsure of his temper. Although they found his arrangements somewhat unusual, they were now all under her lead. Anyway, when she had assented to this, so there was nothing left to object. Moreover, Yi Qing was right. After seeing the other students in the North Hall, they knew that their powers were not on par. Their chances of winning in a one-on-one sparring match were practically abysmal. Apart from Rendezvous and Feng, there was no way the others would even come near the top 10. Meanwhile, the drawing of the lots for the Inter-Academy competition kicked off with a bang. Some of the teenagers were thrilled with their lot. Some were dismayed. For the next few days, the Inter-Academy competition progressed at a red-hot pace. Countless sparring matches were carried out one after the other. Adrenaline and glory bloomed in every battle. In the first few days, the Netherworld Academy's inferior situation was not yet noticeable. The Netherworld Academy teachers and students didn't bother themselves about it then. But as the competition progressed, the Netherworld Academy's inferior position became increasingly clearer. More and more Netherworld Academy students could be seen nursing injuries and recovering from their defeats in the North Hall. In just a few days, the entire Netherworld Academy was nearly utterly defeated. Only a few managed to cling onto the latter stages of the sparring competition. Things are not looking good at all. At first, the Netherworld Academy teachers didn't discover any anomalies. But after observing the matches over the past few days, they realized none of I Ching students had participated in the sparring matches. Even Rendezvous and Feng never showed their faces a single time. Vice President, we need an account of what is happening. Several teachers sought out Wen Qi in anger. Even when Wen Qi explained that Yi Qing and his team were focusing on the team competition, it was to no avail. Without Rendezvous and Feng, it would just be a couple of days more before all of the Netherworld Academy students would be eliminated from the martial arts competition. We will be the laughingstock of the entire Inter-Academy competition. Chapter 2388. Endure 4. A student who had just undergone a battle stood behind the teachers, his body covered in multiple injuries. These students had used their own flesh and blood to defend the Netherworld Academy's reputation. Meanwhile, Yi Qing and his team were hiding at the back. Even though he had the two most important students in the Netherworld Academy, he refused to let them participate. How could the students and teachers, who had sacrificed so much for the honor of the Netherworld Academy, endure this situation? We can't say anything about Feng not participating. After all, he was brought to his current level by Yi Qing. But what about Rendezvous, Hang Wenwei, and the others? What right does Yi Qing have to prevent them from participating? This is also my decision. If you have a problem with it, I will bear the consequences. Wen Qi sighed. Vice President, we know you are protecting Yi Qing, but this Inter-Academy competition concerns the future of our Netherworld Academy. As much as you want to protect him, there should be a limit to it. Wen Qi looked very helpless. After all, he already predicted this situation. At this time, Yi Qingding had just arrived at the doorway. Before she stepped in, she could already hear the teacher's angry demands. Just as she was prepared to enter, Luo Sheng suddenly hurried over to stop her. Luo Sheng shook his head at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang knew Luo Sheng had good intentions. She was just about to say something when a familiar voice rang out from the room. Qiunan, speak for yourself. Vice President, I also wish to participate in the sparring matches. Qiunan's voice rang out from the room. Previously, when Yi Qingtang informed them that they were not going to participate in the sparring matches, Qiunan already felt rather uncomfortable. Then his former teacher had sought him out and told him that he couldn't forsake the Academy's honor just to save his own skin. Even if he knew he would lose, he should not be afraid of battle. As a result, Qiunan had followed his teacher to meet Wen Qi today. But even if Qiunan wanted to participate now, it was already too late. Having missed the drawing of the lots on the first day, no one would be allowed to join in midway. Argumentative voices continued inside the room, and Luo Sheng didn't let Yi Qingtang enter. The two of them just remained standing outside. After a long time, the door was opened. Angry-faced teachers barged out. Seeing Yi Qing standing outside, the anger on their faces intensified. Meanwhile, Qiunan couldn't help ducking out of sight when he saw Yi Qing. Yi Qing, from today onwards, you are not to interfere with Qiunan anymore. He is my student. You don't need to worry about him in the future. Qiunan's teacher snapped furiously before leading Xiao Nin away. The other teachers and students also glared at Yi Qing with displeasure. Without another word, they all stormed off. When she was inside the room, looking very grim, seeing Yi Qing and Luo Sheng outside, he composed himself and said, "Yi Qing, the individual martial arts competition will end in a few days. Following, there will be the alchemy competition, so have Yin Shun prepare." Even now, when Qi's attitude was genial and gentle, and he behaved like nothing had happened. But Yi Qingtang had also heard of the consecutive defeats suffered by the Netherworld Academy over the past few days. Combined with what she overheard just now, Yi Qingtang could imagine just how much pressure when Qi was under now. Yes, Yi Qingtang nodded before she departed without another word. After that day, Xiaonan no longer appeared with Hang Wenwei and the others. He had returned to his teacher's side. Lei Yin and his group realized this, but no one made any further comments. Chapter 2389 Replacement 1. Time passed day by day. The Inter Academy competition progressed continuously, and the top students from the various academies reigned over the matches, dominating intense battle after intense battle. Meanwhile, Lei Yin and his group didn't set a single foot out of the North Hall. They spent every available second improving their cultivation. This year's Inter Academy competition was more intense than in previous years. It was said that during the finals of the martial arts competition, the sparring match to determine the number one student was so fierce that it nearly destroyed the entire university. In the end, the teenager who emerged victorious was someone completely unexpected. It was not Xiao Yihan from the Sky Martial Academy, nor was it Yin Kongluo from the Heaven Dome Academy. It was an unknown teenage girl from some second-tier academy. It was said that this teenage girl was already at the Divine Lord 4th level mid-stage. Meeting Yin Kongluo in the finals, she completely dominated Yin Kongluo. This outcome was completely unexpected. The individual martial arts competition finally came to an end after 2 weeks. Only 2 or 3 students from the Netherworld Academy managed to squeeze into the top 50. None of them were even close to the top 10. One of the Netherworld Academy students fought to his last breath and managed to just enter the top 20. In the end, he had to be carried back to the North Hall. Useless garbage. The teenagers returned, covered in injuries from their defeats. They glared at Lei Yin and the others, who did not participate in a single match, their eyes filled with disdain. Don't come to the Inter Academy competition if you have no guts to fight. Taking up the slots for nothing. What a joke. And their Divine Lord stage, what a bunch of spineless deserters. Those harsh insults barraged the ears of Lei Yin and his group endlessly. Actually, right after Xiaonan left, Qin Feng and his team already felt that something was not quite right. They did not question the reason behind Xiaonan's departure. Now, and then when they bumped into Xiaonan, he would just circle around them and act as if he didn't know them at all. At first, Lei Yin was rather pissed off at the snubbing. After all, Yi Qing had treated Xiaonan no different from the rest of them while he was under him. Their teacher had taught him quite a number of cultivation techniques, but he had just turned and left. And he was now behaving as if they were in the wrong. Luckily, Qin Feng had held Lei Yin back. Otherwise, there might have been a scuffle. Even so, it was clear that their team had become like alley rats in the eyes of the other Netherworld Academy folks. They all glared at them with eyes filled with rage. Gong Jinyan and Hang Wenwei's teachers had also sought them out to persuade them to return, just like what Xiaonan's teacher had done. But they rejected their teacher's offers. They decided to stay until the Inter Academy competition ended. Seeing this, Lei Yin was so touched that he wanted to become sworn brothers with those two. Very soon, Yin Qin's alchemy competition started. Compared to other competitions, the alchemy competition was much simpler and more straightforward. In just one day, the entirety of the competition was completed with the results announced as well. After the consecutive defeats suffered by the Netherworld Academy earlier, they finally had students who successfully entered the top 10. Yin Shun and Song Yinhan were both in the top 10 of the alchemy competition. Song Yinhan was ranked 8th while Yin Shun managed to garner 5th place. Everyone knew that Song Yinhan was Zhu Ning's personal disciple, while Zhu Ning was the teacher who produced that Grandmaster Alchemist. As a result, no one was surprised at Song Yinhan's results. Chapter 2390, Replacement 2. On the other hand, Yinxin's high ranking created a major stir and attracted quite a bit of attention. No one had even heard of Yinxin before, but this time his ranking was even higher than Song Yinhan's. Quite a number of people wondered about the identity of Yinxin's teacher and whether he was Zhu Ning's secret disciple. But Yinxin remained a mystery. Due to their earlier consecutive defeats, the Netherworld Academy folks kept to themselves, and it became impossible for the public to garner more information. Yinxin is so formidable. His win is a major boost to us. Lei Yin and the others patted him on the back with glee. Yinxin's victory gave them a chance to breathe a little easier after several days of immense pressure. The team competition will start soon now that the alchemy competition has ended, right? Hang Wenwei asked. We should have another couple of days. It will be our turn to perform then. I must let them see that we are not useless. Lei Yin waved his fists. Goodness knew how much ridicule he had endured over the past few days. If not for Yi Qing holding him back, he would probably have gotten into a fight with some of those other students. Xiaonan looked at Yi Qing. Boss, each team should have 10 students and 1 teacher. With Xiaonan's departure, we still need 1 more person. Over the past few days, they tacitly avoided any mention of Xiaonan. But now, they were indeed missing 1 person from their team. The team competition rules were strict. If there were not enough people on the team, they would lose the chance to participate. Yi Qingtang was well aware of that. Yesterday, she had especially sought out Wenqi, and he only said that he would send someone over today. Lei Yin and the others were still peeved at Xiao, and leaving them without a single word. But it was undeniable that he was the most suitable candidate. This year's competition was exceptionally intense. Most of the Netherworld Academy students who participated in the individual martial arts segment returned with multiple injuries, and they had already formed their own teams anyway. It would be difficult to find a last-minute replacement. Just as they were discussing this, Wenqi led someone toward them. Yi Qing, I have brought your new teammate. Wenqi was smiling, but the teenager standing behind him bore a more complicated expression. Yi Qingtang, Jing Zhe, and the rest turned to look. The brats were all stunned by the sight of the teenager standing behind Wenqi. Even Yi Qingtang was surprised when she saw who it was. It was no random stranger whom Wenqi had brought. It was their old friend, Song Yinhan. Song Yinhan was standing quietly behind Wenqi, looking very awkward. He could clearly see the astonished looks on the faces of Lei Yin and the rest. If not for Wenqi's presence, Song Yinhan might have just turned and run off. Since losing to Yinxin at the Netherworld Academy selection trials, and after Zhu Ning lost to Yi Qing, Song Yinhan consistently avoided Yi Qing and the others. Even when Zhu Ning brought him over to Yi Qing's place to research elixirs together, Song Yinhan would hide in a corner and make his presence as small as possible. No one dreamed that one day he would be forced to join Yi Qing's team for the team competition. Song Yinhan just felt like crying now. If he had known things would turn out like this, he would never have provoked Qin Feng back then. Why did he do that? Chapter 2391, Replacement 3. Vice President Yi Qingtang knew that Wenqi was going to send someone over. But she never expected that someone to be Song Yinhan. Zhu Ning had taught Song Yinhan his alchemy skills. If not for Yinxin, he would definitely be the Netherworld Academy's only hope. With someone of his caliber, Wu Fengling should have already assigned him to a team. One of Song Yinhan's teammates is injured and has yet to recover. I am afraid he won't be able to participate in the team competition. Wenqi sighed in frustration. The teenager who performed the best amongst the Netherworld Academy students for the martial arts segment was in Song Yinhan's team. He had given his best, but ended up being severely injured, so there was no possibility that he could not continue competing. With one person down, Song Yinhan's team would not be able to qualify for the team competition. Under Zhu Ning's suggestion, Wenqi decided to send Song Yinhan over to Yi Qing's team. Of course, they could always replace that severely injured teenager with Xiaonan, but Xionin had already been transferred to his teacher's team. There were also other teams with members too injured to continue. After shuffling around the fragmented teams, Song Yinhan emerged alone. When she had his reasons for this arrangement, the other teams already had their own alchemists, most of whom had rather low martial art levels. Yi Qing's Yun Shun was the only exception. Is he willing? Yi Qingtang looked at Song Yinhan. In reality, she did not really care who was sent over to their team. Her 9 brats were enough. As long as the replacement would not be a burden, she had no objections. When she knew of Yi Qing's concerns, as well as the conflict between Song Yinhan, Lei Yin, and the others, so he glanced at Song Yinhan. Sighing in resignation, Song Yinhan stepped forward. Teacher Yi, I was foolish and ignorant in the past. Please forgive me. I will give my best for this team competition. Song Yinhan felt very aggrieved. He used to hold such a high status in the Netherworld Academy in the past, but now he had ended up with this team, and he even had to beg to join them. But this person he was begging, he couldn't deny the latter's skills. Not only were Yi Qing's elixir refinement skills higher than his master Juning's, but even his students' abilities were also better than his own. What else could Song Yinhan say? All right, Yi Qingtang saw that Song Yinhan was sincere about joining, and so she didn't try to make things difficult for him. After everything was confirmed, when she led Yi Qing to one side for a private conversation. Meanwhile, Song Yinhan was left standing before that bunch of brats. Song Yinhan, Lei Yin rubbed his chin and circled around Song Yinhan. The expression on Lei Yan's face gave Song Yinhan goosebumps. Brother. Lei Yin smacked Song Yinhan's shoulder. Song Yinhan was startled. Damn, he wouldn't be able to hold his own against this guy in a fight. Was this fellow going to take this opportunity to take revenge now? We are a family from now on, so don't worry. We will take care of you during the team competition. But you need to control your teacher in the future. Please stop him from dragging our boss away all the time. Lei Yin spoke meaningfully. Song Yinhan, how could this bunch of kids still be so relaxed? Didn't they know the trouble the Netherworld Academy was in? Song Yinhan was different from Lei Yin and the others. He knew the dire straits the Netherworld Academy would be in if they failed to get 3 Spirit Jades in this competition. Currently, they only had in their possession the 2 Spirit Jades won by Yun Shun and him. The only competition that remained was the team competition. Chapter 2392, Wailing Well 1. The next 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Soon enough, the final segment of the Inter Academy competition finally arrived. The team competition was upon them, and the location was the Wailing Well situated in the Evil Marsh, a strange and mystical land which was only recently opened. Over 100 teams from the various academies, comprising thousands of participants, were fully prepared, just waiting for this final battle. There was only one entrance to the Wailing Well. The academy teams had to draw lots to decide the sequence of entry. Without the special talisman, no one would be able to leave the Wailing Well after entering. And for this year's competition, they had to remain in the Wailing Well for a fixed period of time and kill the most number of demons to win. As a result, the team to enter the Wailing Well first would have the greatest advantage. Lei Yin and the others had already prepared everything. Due to the special rules for this competition, they had to hand over their space rings to others for safekeeping. Apart from their clothes and personal weapons, they could not bring anything in. Only the teachers in the various teams could bring one space ring, and it could only contain the teleportation talisman to leave the Wailing Well, as well as the medicine faculty students' tripods. No food, no water, no elixirs, no special artifacts. Once inside the Wailing Well, they would face a harsh, unknown land. Yi Qingtang went forward to draw their lot. Lei Yin and the others waited at the side. Haven't seen you all for so long. Didn't think you guys would have the guts to show up today. A mocking voice rang out from behind the group. Lei Yin and the others turned to see Xingrong with a group of Heaven Dome Academy students. Since that fateful day, Xingrong held a grudge against them. He wanted to see if he could get a chance to beat up Lei Yin and the others during the martial arts sparring matches. But unexpectedly, he didn't even catch a glimpse of them in the arena. Thereafter, Xingrong heard that the Netherworld Academy's top 2 students had not participated in the sparring matches at all. This became a big joke and a major talking point amongst the other academies. Lei Yin wanted to charge forward, but Qin Feng stopped him. Now is not the time to get in a fight. Xingrong sneered provocatively at them with a mocking expression. I won't let you off so easily for our previous altercation. After entering the Wailing Well, you'd better pray that you don't encounter me. Otherwise, Xingrong narrowed his eyes, which were filled with threat. Xingrong, don't waste your breath on them. Teacher said that our main opponents are the Sky Martial Academy and Cold Cloud Academy. One of the teenagers reminded him. The Netherworld Academy had fallen so far behind that they were no threat to anyone, and no one treated them as competition. That's right, Xingrong smiled, but I can still toy with them. Ha! With that, Xingrong and his team turned to leave. Damn, after entering the Wailing Well, let's see who's afraid of whom. Lei Yin gritted his teeth as he glared at Xingrong's departing profile. But Song Yinhan, who didn't know what had happened between the two sides, looked grim. He didn't expect for Lei Yin and his team to have already made enemies with the Heaven Dome Academy even before the competition started. It should be pointed out that the Heaven Dome Academy's In Kong Luo had won second place in the individual martial arts competition. Their power was not something which they could go against. It was definitely not a good thing to be targeted by those folks so early on. After all, there were no rules stating that teams couldn't attack each other inside the Wailing Well. Chapter 2393, Wailing Well 2. How did you end up provoking those Heaven Dome Academy people? Song Yinhan couldn't resist asking. Who provoked them? They came looking for trouble themselves. Lei Yin snorted in annoyance. Song Yinhan looked increasingly grim. Yiqing students were really all so ignorant. Couldn't they see the disparity between their skill levels and that of the Heaven Dome Academy folks? Isn't that Qiu Nan? Gong Jinyan caught a glimpse of Qiu Nan standing with another team. The others turned to look. As if sensing their gaze, Qiu Nan instinctively averted his eyes and pretended to chat with his teammates. Upon realizing that Qiu Nan was purposely avoiding them, the teenagers couldn't help feeling rather upset. We trained together for so many weeks. This fellow, how can he be so heartless? Lei Yin sighed in resignation. Song Yinhan glanced at Lei Yin, but remained silent. Actually, Song Yinhan was able to see the situation more clearly than Lei Yin and the rest. Apart from Wen Qi and Luo Sheng, the other Netherworld Academy teachers and students in University were all very angry with Yi Qing and his team. Even for him, he had endured quite a number of sarcastic insults over the past couple of days. The drawing of the lots soon concluded. Yi Qing had drawn a number somewhere in the middle. The first team to enter the Wailing Well was from the Sky Martial Academy. Just before they entered, a yellow bean-sized ball appeared and floated above their heads. The ball followed them in. This ball would record everything which happened to the team so that all the academy leaders will be able to watch the entire proceedings. This was also a measure to prevent someone from secretly bringing in a restricted item. In addition, it could show the performance of every single student. One by one, the teams entered the Wailing Well until it was finally Yi Qingtang's turn. Yi Qingtang led Lei Yin and the others to the entrance. After giving them a steady look, she stepped in first. Lei Yin and the rest followed suit. Like that, 11 figures disappeared into the darkness. Almost immediately, she was hit with a wave of all-encompassing darkness. But soon, Yi Qingtang's line of sight recovered a little. At this point, she was immersed in gloomy darkness, her surroundings covered in a faint black fog. The air was bone-chillingly cold. Before she could fully observe her surroundings, Lei Yin and the others appeared behind her, and a nondescript little ball also appeared with them. Wen Qi and the other academy leaders were sitting in a large hall. Multiple floating screens were strewn across the hall in a rather haphazard manner. Each screen showed a team who had entered the Wailing Well, such that the actions of every single team member were displayed for everyone to see. This is the team which the Netherworld Academy had been hiding from the rest of us. An elder from one of the academies turned to look at Wen Qi when he saw the image of Yi Qingtang's team enter the Wailing Well. Wen Qi maintained a poker face. I heard that a number of talented Netherworld Academy students didn't participate in the individual martial arts competition. Even Wu Fengling's disciple didn't participate. Vice President Wen, don't tell me this is your Netherworld Academy's trump card? So you have placed all your bets on winning this team competition? The person asked. Chapter 2394, Wailing Well 3. The person's tone was casual, but there was an undertone of sarcasm, and his words attracted the attention of a few others. Staking everything on one bet, or just one final desperate attempt to survive. The other academies did not really care. After all, they had personally witnessed Netherworld Academy's decline and no longer treated them as worthy competition. In Kongluo's team has just entered the Wailing Well, someone pointed out as another screen appeared in the hall. Jin Xianyang had indeed just led In Kongluo and his team into the Wailing Well. But their surroundings looked different from where Yi Qingtang and her team arrived. There was only one portal entrance to the Wailing Well. But after entering, no one could predict where in the Wailing Well they would land. At this point, everyone's attention was focused on the elite teams from the Heaven Dome Academy and other top academies. Everyone was well aware that the winner would probably be one of those elite teams. The rest were just along for the ride. It was dark, cold, and gloomy inside the Wailing Well. This kind of setting was the perfect environment for hidden dangers. Yi Qingtang led Lei Yin and the others further in, carefully analyzing her surroundings. Boss, are we going to hunt some demons now? Lei Yin rubbed his fists together, itching to fight. The others were likewise prepared for battle. But Yi Qing only replied, "No hurry." What? They were stunned. Song Yinhan couldn't help shaking his head discreetly at Yi Qing's answer. They only had a limited amount of time inside. About 50 to 60 teams had entered the Wailing Well before them, and those teams were probably already killing demons now. Meanwhile, Yi Qing was not at all anxious. How could they hope to win against the other teams in 10 days with this kind of laid-back attitude? Yi Qingtang didn't say anything else. Instead, she observed her surroundings. It was dark and murky, but she could see quite several unfamiliar vegetation growing in the gloom. She didn't lead her team onward, but turned to a patch of vegetation at the side. Bending down, she picked up a nondescript-looking plant. Lei Yin and the others couldn't understand what Yi Qing was doing. They just stood foolishly by the side. Taking a few steps forward, Yi Qing picked several more plants before turning around. Explore this area. If you see these plants, pick all of them and bring them back to me. Boss, you want us to pick plants? But shouldn't we hunt for some demons first? Lei Yin was bewildered and his eyebrows furrowed. If you don't wish to die from blood loss during the battles, do as I say. Lei Yin was still puzzled, but Song Yinhan and Yun Qin immediately understood. Yi Qing was holding plants, which were all herbs required to refine elixirs. To think that he was able to find these herbs in the darkness within such a short period of time. As they could not bring any elixirs with them, if they met with danger and incurred injuries, they would not have any medicine to help them. Boss, you want us to refine elixirs first? Yin Shun guessed at Yi Qing's plan. Yi Qingtang nodded. She had observed their surroundings and saw that it was relatively safe for now. When entering an unfamiliar place, the most important thing was to move in a calm and steady manner. These brats usually had plenty of elixirs in their space rings, and so they didn't know how frightening it was to not have any during critical moments. During a crisis, a single elixir could mean the difference between life and death. Chapter 2395, Slow and Steady, 1. Now that they knew of Yi Qing's strategy to refine elixirs first, the teenagers all started moving. They soon collected quite a good amount of herbs from their surroundings and handed them over to Yi Qing. Without another word, Yi Qingtang sorted through the herbs and arranged them, before giving 2 portions to Yun Shun and Song Yinhan. Song Yinhan looked at the herbs. Do you know how to refine reversal elixirs? Yi Qingtang asked. Reversal elixirs were a type of healing medicine. They were not rare, but were very effective. Song Yinhan nodded. refine. Yi Qing's instructions were simple and straight to the point. With that, Song Yinhan resigned himself to the task. Seeing Yun Chun refine the elixirs using his palm flame, he quietly carried his tripod to a corner, although the sight made him feel somewhat abashed. Yun Chun and Song Yinhan were both top talents in the medicine faculty, and the reversal elixir was not complicated. As a result, they were able to produce them very quickly. Yi Qingtang didn't join in the refining. She continued to search for useful herbs in the surroundings, leading Lei Yin and the rest as they collected more plants. Half a day passed in the blink of an eye. Song Yinhan had been refining nonstop, and his hands were stained in plant juices. By that point, he had worked so hard that he felt his head spin, and he was shocked to discover that half a day had passed, and they were still at the same spot. They had not advanced at all. Apart from foraging for useful herbs, Yi Qing didn't look like he intended to venture further into the Wailing Well. Song Yinhan couldn't understand this at all, but Song Yinhan thought that perhaps Teacher Yi was just a more cautious person. Perhaps he would only make a move after refining enough elixirs. It was dark and gloomy across the Wailing Well, and there was no sense of day or night inside here. Song Yinhan had no idea exactly how long he had been refining. The elixirs in his tripod were taken out, and Yi Qing allocated a portion to everyone in the team. Only after all the nearby useful herbs were collected did Song Yinhan stop. He felt like his arms were going to break in two. He didn't have any other elixir refining tools, only his tripod. Even more tragic was that Song Yinhan realized his elixir refining speed was far slower than that of Yin Shen's. Not to mention Yi Qing's. As much as Song Yinhan didn't want to admit it, he had personally witnessed Yi Qing produce 17 to 18 elixirs simultaneously with a single palm flame. The sight made him concede to the teacher's skills in full. Despite his skill and reputation, he still had to produce the elixirs one by one. "Boss, are we going to hunt some demons now?" Lei Yin finally asked in a timid voice. He had spent half a day digging for herbs. Yi Qing only replied, "You all wait here for me." Lei Yin and the others nodded obediently. Boss was finally going to make a move. Yi Qing soon disappeared. After a long time, she returned, bearing the faint smell of blood. The teenagers were excited. Indeed, their boss went hunting for demons. But before they could ask Yi Qing about the demons, she tossed several strange-looking creatures at them. There was silence. "Boss, didn't you go and hunt for demons?" Jingzhe looked at those creatures, which were about as big as rabbits. "No, I didn't. I went to hunt for food," Yi Qing replied. The team, Song Yinhan, was dismayed. They had spent the first afternoon inside the Wailing Well refining a bunch of elixirs and hunting for food. Meanwhile, they had not gotten a single glimpse of any demons at all. Did this teacher, Yi, even want to win the competition? Chapter 2396, Slow and Steady, 2. Meanwhile, in the big hall, Wen Qi and the others bore very strange expressions as they watched. The teams from the various academies had already advanced further into the Wailing Well and were engaged in intense battles. But there was a single screen that stood out from the rest. "Vice President, what is Yi Qing's team doing?" Luo Sheng looked at the screen, showing Yi Qing and his team. What was shown made his face twitch. The other teams had all started exploring the Wailing Well, and some teams had already encountered demons and were hunting with ferocity. Some teams encountered other teams and ended up in a scuffle. Meanwhile, on Yi Qing's side, a bonfire was burning in that murky scene. One could see some vague shapes which looked like chickens roasting above the fire. Wen Qi was also befuddled. This was completely different for what he expected. Earlier on, Wen Qi didn't find it that astonishing that Yi Qing chose to refine elixirs first. He thought that the youth was just being prudent. But now, they were eating? Actually taking the time to sit and fill their bellies? Teachers from the other academies also noticed this unique scene. Quite a number of people glanced over, their faces filled with ridicule. The top Netherworld Academy students did not participate in the earlier martial arts competition, and the other academies guessed that they might be hiding their true power to stake it all in the team competition. But Wen Qi, your students, they really know how to enjoy themselves. A teacher from another academy chuckled. This competition would directly affect the reputation of the Academy. And to think that the Netherworld Academy team was in the mood to have a barbecue? What a complete farce. Even then, when Qi maintained his impassive expression, he believed that Yi Qing would not mess around. But, for a moment there, even when Qi had no idea what he was planning, compared to how the other teams had already encountered demons and were fighting them, Yi Qing's team was gathered around a bonfire eating roasted meat. When Qi's heart was constricted, and he was not the only one, Song Yinhan was also speechless. The next morning, Song Yinhan believed that Yi Qing would finally make a move. But the latter seemed to have no intention of hunting for demons. Instead, Yi Qing only led Lei Yin and the others to gather another round of herbs to refine elixirs. It was only after that they finally ventured deeper inside the Wailing Well. "Boss, look," Qin Feng called out in a low voice. He seemed to have discovered something. The others followed his line of sight. A massive cave was hidden in a nearby forest. Several lion-shaped demons were pacing near the outside of the cave. These lion-shaped demons were huge. Even the smallest of them was at least 3 meters tall. This was the first time that Lei Yin and the others had met a demon after entering the Wailing Well. They immediately went on high alert. Narrowing her eyes at the lion-shaped demons, Yi Qingtang instructed in a low voice, "Little Inger, try and use your puppet." Moments later, Yi Qingtang retrieved a human-shaped puppet from her space ring and handed it to Mu Zing. The puppet was the size of an adult man. Placed in front of Mu Zing, it made her look even smaller than usual. Song Yinhan was startled by the sight of the puppet. "Teacher Yi, I thought we are not allowed to bring special artifacts." Yi Qing replied, "This is Jing Er's weapon." Song Yinhan was taken aback. Only then did the thought of puppet masters appear in his mind. Chapter 2397. Slow and Steady 3. As Song Yinhan looked at the quiet Mu Zing, he was surprised. He had never imagined that this withdrawn little girl was actually a puppet master. Mu Zing had made use of her spare time in the Evil Soul Forest to create this puppet. The materials used were all from the Evil Soul Forest. Light as a feather, her fingers danced, and the immobile puppet suddenly moved. As if suddenly filled with life, the puppet suddenly got up and snuck toward those demons outside the cave. Puppet masters were very rare. This was the first time Song Yinhan witnessed a puppet master controlling a puppet, and he discovered that Mu Zing was not even using any strings at all. Nevertheless, that puppet moved very naturally. From afar, it looked just like any living human. Mu Zing had the puppet approach the demons outside the cave. Those demons seemed to be oblivious to that lifeless puppet's presence. As the puppet approached one of the smaller demons, the demon suddenly attacked. It opened its jaws and countless hands shot out of its mouth. In the blink of an eye, Mu Zing's puppet was shredded to bits. "Mu Zing, let's go." Yi Qingtang commanded them to retreat the moment she saw what happened to the puppet. Song Yinhan, who had already prepared to do battle, was shocked. "Go." They were leaving just like that? After quietly putting more distance between them and that cave, Yi Qingtang finally spoke. "Jing Er's puppet has at least 70% of her powers, but it could not even withstand a single attack by the smallest demon. The puppet had been crafted with materials from the Evil Soul Forest. Yi Qingtang had specially tested that puppet before and knew that it could easily withstand attacks from someone who was a Divine Lord First Heaven level. It was clear that those demons were above that of a Divine Lord First Heaven level. Everyone in the team heard Yi Qing's explanation. There were at least 7 to 8 of those lion-shaped demons outside that cave, and Mu Zing had chosen one of the smallest ones. Despite this, its battle prowess was already so formidable. If they had charged forward, they would have been torn to shreds within seconds. "Boss, what kind of demons were they? Why do they have those things inside their mouths?" Nan Gonglai shuddered when he recalled those hands inside that demon's jaws. "I don't know." Yi Qingtang shook her head. The team, who had been full of aggression and energy, all prepared to sweep the entire Wailing Well clean of demons, was now muted after meeting their first demons. just a random demon, and it was already beyond the Divine Lord's stage. How were they going to hunt and kill any? Unless they could find some solitary demons. They had no hope at all when faced with a group of them. Just as they were feeling very depressed, sounds of fighting echoed from nearby. The sounds drew closer and closer. Lei Yin and the others turned to see a massive black figure charging straight toward them. A harsh light flashed. That massive figure was instantly destroyed. It was a demon which looked like a giant ape, but its fur was made up of millions of worms, which wriggled nonstop. Ugh! Lei Yin nearly puked at the sight of those worms. What kind of place was this? Who's there? A stern voice rang out. A familiar figure appeared before Yi Qingtang's team. Chapter 2398. Slow and Steady 4. So it's you guys. The person commented when he saw Yi Qing's team. Yi Qingtang also saw who it was. It was Qiunan's teacher. Teacher, are you all right? Anxious voices rang out as a bunch of wretched-looking teenagers rushed over. Qiunan was amongst them, but he was in a rather pathetic state. His arms were covered in cuts and bruises, large patches of blood staining his sleeves. Some of his wounds were even turning black around the edges. Qiunan slowed down significantly when he saw Yi Qingtang's team in front. Their teacher had his students crack open the demon's skull and retrieve a demon crystal. Teacher Yi, I wonder how many demons have you killed? The teacher gazed coldly at Yi Qing with the demon crystal in hand. Compared to his team, Yi Qing and his students looked too clean. It was like they had not fought at all. None. Yi Qingtang replied in all honesty. The teacher gave a cold laugh. He glanced at Renmo, Qin Feng, and the rest. Teacher Yi, let me give you a piece of advice. Even if you don't care about your own reputation, you need to consider the honor of the Netherworld Academy. Never mind that you were too afraid to participate in the earlier sparring matches. Now you're still too cowardly to take any action. Do you know that everyone on the outside can see everything that we do in here? Go ahead and embarrass yourself if you want, but don't drag the name of the Netherworld Academy into the mud with you. It was well known that Yi Qing had two exceptional students, Renmo and Qin Feng, under him, but he didn't seem to have any intention of fighting. The teacher was very annoyed by that. That teacher looked at Renmo, Qin Feng, and the rest. You kids will amount to nothing under a teacher like this. Qin Feng and the others remained impassive. Song Yanhan was the only one who lowered his head sheepishly, unable to hide the anxiety simmering inside. That teacher was not the only one. Song Yanhan also felt that Yi Qing was too cowardly. They had already spent a full day inside the Wailing Well, but had not taken any action. It should be pointed out that their team was the strongest one from the Netherworld Academy. In the end, they didn't even have the courage to fight any demons. It was a massive loss of face to the Netherworld Academy. Yi Qing, I don't care that you lack courage, but you cannot be a burden to these kids. I don't like your cowardly antics, but for the sake of the Netherworld Academy, I can consider joining forces with you. But your students will have to follow my instructions. The teacher grew increasingly frustrated on seeing Yi Qing's attitude. If not for how powerful Renmo and the others were, he would not even bother wasting words on these cowards. The teams from the various schools were all scattered inside the Wailing Well, and it was not easy to meet another team from the same academy. If they had the good fortune to meet their other schoolmates, they would usually join forces and fight together for the sake of winning. Teacher Yi, I think that this teacher's suggestion, Song Yanhan felt that this teacher was being very reasonable. But Yi Qing replied, no need to trouble yourself. We will fight our own battles. The teacher and Song Yanhan were taken aback by Yi Qing's words. The brusque dismissal made that teacher feel infuriated. But Yi Qing was the leader. Without his agreement, he could not force the latter's team to cooperate. Yi Qing, they will end up in a dismal state because of you. The teacher snorted before leading his own team away. Chapter 2399. Slow and Steady 5. Qiunan kept his head low and didn't utter a single word as he walked past Yi Qing and the rest of them. The friends by his side couldn't help but mutter, Qiunan, is that your previous teacher? You're lucky to be back. You would probably have died a terrible death if you continue to follow him. I thought that Rendezvous and Qin Feng skipped the competition to prepare for the team battle. But who knew? It was because of this incompetent teacher who dragged everyone down with him and wasted their potential. What a shame that he still can't tell right from wrong. Our teacher reached out with kindness, but he rejected it. I want to see how badly he can mess up with Rendezvous and the rest in a few days. They were supposed to be the elite team of the Netherworld Academy, yet couldn't even compare to their team. Wasn't this a joke? Xiaonan sighed quietly. Even though he didn't say anything, an expression of joy appeared on his face. At the same time, Lei Yin and his friends' faces turned dark as the team walked away. Song Yinhan was frowning, upset at Yi Qing's stubbornness. Teacher Yi, I don't know what you're planning, but you're going to drag the entire team down if you continue doing this. Even if we end up surviving in the Wailing Well for 10 days, ITLL still be our loss if we kill fewer demons than the other teams, Song Yinhan blurted out. I have my own plans, Yi Qing said lightly. What else could he do? Song Yinhan only gritted his teeth and didn't say anything more. Lei Yin could sense that something was off, but had no idea what to say. They had trusted Yi Qing all this time, and despite all their questions and worries, they would not question his decisions. As they continued to move through the forest, soon enough they arrived at a lake hidden within it. There was a horde of demons drinking from the lake. At a glance, they could see the demons stacked densely against each other. Even the competitive Song Yinhan lost his desire to fight after seeing their numbers. But Yi Qing stopped in his tracks, hid in the shadows, and glanced at the demons. There were almost 100 of them. The demons seemed to be ignoring each other. They were merely gathered at the side of the lake to drink water. But Yi Qing quickly noticed something strange. The lake was wide, but the demons were avoiding a certain spot. There were small, pink flowers growing in the area that they were avoiding, and they stood out against the gloomy Wailing Well. Yi Qing's eye narrowed slightly. After that, she brought them to a nearby area in the forest and found a safe spot to rest. For the next few days, they remained there. Other than letting Lei Yin and the rest of them gather a few herbs every day, they only observed the lake and did not kill any demons. Song Yinhan's patience was running out as the days passed. If this continued on, even if they survived 10 days in here, they would be dead last in the number of demons killed. How would they win? The same worry was in Wenqi's heart outside the Wailing Well. Over the last few days, he had been watching the group's actions with bated breath. The other teams had already been on a rampage, and a few of them had already racked up a huge number of kills. Yet there had been no movement on Yi Qing's side. Even the calm Wenqi was starting to worry. Chapter 2400, All in One Shot. 1. Vice President 1. So this is the strongest team from the Netherworld Academy? An elder from the Heaven Dome Academy said with a laugh as he looked at Yi Qing's situation. He hadn't seen a team worse than the Netherworld Academy's team in the past few days. In the past few days, not only did the team not kill any demons, they didn't even show any signs of killing any. It was a complete joke. Wenqi's expression was tight. The Heaven Dome Academy's elder watched the screen as Lei Yin and the rest of them carried a bunch of herbs back to Yi Qing and piled them in front of the youth. What a joke. That's right. Why struggle bitterly if you know that you're already going to lose? The teacher from the Netherworld Academy already understands this. Rather than fighting to the death with the demons and not being able to turn the tables anyway, why not suffer less? Wenqi took a deep breath and suppressed the unhappiness in his heart. A few other teachers heard what was happening and came over. Seeing the absurd situation on the screen, they let out sarcastic smiles. The Netherworld Academy was done. Even a few other nameless academies had killed quite a few demons. Yet the top team from the Netherworld Academy did not have a single kill. It was an embarrassment to the Netherworld Academy. Wenqi, where did you even find this teacher? Look at him plucking flowers in the middle of a competition. One of the teachers smiled as they looked at the pile of flowers in front of Yi Qing and his team. At the same time, Wenqi looked expressionlessly at Yi Qing, his feelings complicated. In the Wailing Well, Yi Qingtang looked at the pile of pink flowers in front of her, her mind working quickly on a plan. Lei Yin and the rest who had plucked flowers to exhaustion were all sitting on the ground. Boss, are we done? We've already plucked all the flowers in this area. What do you need all these flowers for? Lei Yin asked curiously. Yi Qing had instructed them to pluck all the pink flowers and as many as they could. Even Yin Chun didn't recognize these flowers, and Yi Qing didn't seem to be making an elixir out of them. So why did he need so many flowers? Take off your outer clothes. Lei Yin and the rest of them looked confused, but did as they were told. With that, Yi Qingtang stuffed the flowers into their outer clothes, using all her strength to stuff them in. The essence of the flowers dripped onto the contraption she had made from the leaves on the ground. Lei Yin and the rest followed her. In a short time, the pile of flowers had transformed into a pool of pink essence. Gathering all of the essence, Yi Qing said, "Follow me." Although they were all confused and had no idea what he was going to do, they followed him. Yi Qing walked over to the lake, where many demons were drinking. Do you know what this is? Yi Qingtang pointed to the pink essence. They shook their heads. By this point, Song Yinhan's patience had already run out, and he was not interested in hearing what Yi Qing had to say. Yi Qing said lightly, "This is our winning strategy." With that, he poured all of the pink essence into the lake in front of him. Chapter 24:01 All in One Shot 2. Lei Yin and the rest of them looked on in shock at Yi Qing's actions. "Boss," she watched as the pink essence flowed into the water and instantly disappeared. "This flower is called the sleeping flower." "Sleeping flower?" one of them asked in surprise. "The flowers can numb the nervous system and make a person fall into a deep sleep." Lei Yin and the others instantly understood as Yi Qing said that. "Boss, you're using this to put all the demons to sleep?" She nodded. They were all getting excited. But Song Yinhan spoke coldly. "Teacher Yi, are you kidding me? This lake is huge, and these demons aren't normal humans. How can this little essence?" But before he could finish his sentence, deep snores came from the lake. In an instant, the demons drinking water at the lake collapsed without warning, and the other demons drinking at the lake quickly followed suit. The demons collapsed so quickly that no one even had time to react. But, Song Yinhan looked at the demons in confusion. How is that possible? His eyes widened in disbelief, as though he had just witnessed an illusion. Collapsed? They had all collapsed. What kind of joke was this? These were all demons possessing divine Lord-level power, and yet they had been put to sleep by that little essence? Even Lei Yin and the rest were stunned. This was way too fast. Boss, this is all from the essence of those flowers." Lei Yin stuttered in surprise. They had thought that the effects of the essence would be diminished in such a large lake and would only take out a few demons at most. But sleeping flowers are extremely rare, and you don't really see them outside. Just 1/3 of a petal is enough to put an entire city to sleep, Yi Qingtang said lightly. She hadn't recognized the flowers at first and had only noticed them after seeing the demons avoid the flower. After all, sleeping flowers were extremely rare, and just one of them could fetch the same price as a Grandmaster-level pill. These flowers were the things of legends. Who knew that they would be growing in droves here? It wasn't a coincidence that all the demons were avoiding it. They knew the effects of the flowers and were avoiding them on purpose. Yes, we've finally struck the jackpot. Nangong clutched his chest as he looked at the demons at the lake. He was so excited that he couldn't breathe properly. "What are you standing there for? Go!" Yi Qing looked at them expectantly. With that, they leaped into action and rushed towards their present, outside the Wailing Well. When she looked on as Lei Yin and the others cut off the demons' heads like turnips. His expression was subtle. Beside him were teachers from the other academies. The shock in their expressions was mirrored across them all. Chapter 24:02 All in One Shot 3. What's happening? One of the teachers rubbed his eyes in disbelief, not knowing what he was witnessing was real. What had the team from the Netherworld Academy done? How could they bring down so many demons at once? After making those snide remarks to Wen-Chi, they had returned to observe the progress of their own teams. They had never expected Yi Qing to put the essence of the sleeping flower into the lake, and in the blink of an eye, his team had already brought down tens of demons. How terrifying their power was. What a frightening number. Within moments, they had surpassed the other teams with barely any effort. The demons in the Wailing Well were at least of the Divine Lord First Heaven level. They were extremely strong and rarely traveled alone. The other teams all had trouble finding one alone to attack, and usually had to deal with a few attacking them at once. Even the students from the Heaven Dome Academy and Sky Marshal Academy had suffered many injuries already, which meant that they needed time to recuperate and could not fight temporarily. Before this, the team led by Jin Xinyang had been in the lead, having killed over 20 demons. But this Yi Qing's team had now killed 50 to 60 demons in one shot. Wen-Chi, how dare your teacher break the rules? One of the other teachers quickly regained his senses as his face darkened. How dare you insult them? Which rule have they broken? Wen-Chi calmed the shock he was feeling and remained stone-faced. How did you manage to bring down so many demons if you didn't break the rules? There must be someone of the Emperor level in your team. Would so many demons of the Divine Lord level fall so easily? They wouldn't believe it unless some powerful and forbidden Dharma artifact had been used. Wen-Chi said coldly, everybody was checked before they enter the Wailing Well. Just because you can't do it doesn't mean that no one else can. He looked cold on the surface and was internally gleeful. My dear Yi Qing, he had never expected the lad to give him such a surprise. If this continued, there was no way the other teams could catch up to the number of demons they had killed. They finally had some hope. I would like to ask, how did your team do it then? They used the sleeping flower, an elderly voice said. Everyone turned towards the voice. It came from an elder from the Heaven Dome Academy. It was Qiu Ku, an alchemy master as famous as Zhu Ning and was extremely reputable in the second domain. Elder Qiu, the sleeping flower? What is that? Qiu Ku narrowed his eyes, and his eyes swept over the humble pink flowers in front of Yi Qing on the screen. Sleeping flowers are extremely rare and have a great anesthetic effect. If I'm not wrong, the team from the Netherworld Academy must have used them to bring down the demons. Sleeping flowers? Are they that powerful that they can bring down so many demons? Furrowing his brows slightly, Qiu Ku only said, they can even bring down someone from the Emperor level. Good Lord. Everyone froze at these words. Chapter 2403, all in one shot. 4. Recalling how Yi Qing had been asking his team to gather flowers for a long period. Now they finally understood why. Sleeping flowers are extremely rare, and I've only seen them once before in an ancient book. I've never seen real ones before, and to think that there would be so many in the Wailing Well and that he could recognize them. Qiu Ku nodded slightly and looked at Yi Qing. The sleeping flowers were rare, and not many people knew about them. In a previous life, people had only slowly known about the flowers after the Wailing Well had been discovered, and Yi Qing had already known about the flowers a long time ago. The people who were suspicious of a strange teacher quickly fell silent. After all, Qiu Ku wasn't from the Netherworld Academy and had no reason to protect Yi Qing. What made them even more curious now was how this young teacher from the Netherworld Academy knew about these sleeping flowers. In the Wailing Well, Lei Yin and the rest of the team had swept up all the demons. Song Yinhan all looked in shock at the demon crystals they brought back. Never in a million years would he have expected that Yi Qing meant what he said. Those small, unassuming flowers actually had such a use. He had been doubting Yi Qing's actions from the start, but now he was the one who looked pathetic. He only knew how to be strong and had not observed his surroundings within the Wailing Well for things that they could use. Song Yinhan opened his mouth a few times as he looked at Yi Qing, words of apology at the tip of his tongue, but he couldn't seem to voice them out. He finally realized that the one pulling the team down wasn't Yi Qingtang, but himself. With Yi Qing and Yun Chen's skills in alchemy, there was no need for him at all. He was also the lowest in martial ability and would not have been able to join this team, if not for Zhu Ning. But he had never once seen the truth clearly. He had always thought that he was smarter. The team was enjoying their success at the side and had not noticed Song Yinhan's reactions at all. Boss, this is so powerful. Can't we just wait here for more demons to come and drink, and we'll be able to win easily? Lei Yin said with a smile. He could already smell their victory. They had brought down tens of demons in one shot. Who else other than their team could do something like this? Yi Qingtang looked at the gleeful Lei Yin. That's a good thought, but it's not practical. Lei Yin's smile froze on his lips. Why? Even though the effects of the sleeping flower are extremely strong, the duration is extremely short once it enters the water. It has probably already faded. What? So fast? Lei Yin's face fell. Yin Qin's mind was working fast. If we can find more sleeping flowers, can we keep using this method? Yi Qingtang nodded. The youths were immediately excited again. Even if the sleeping flowers near them were already gone, they could look for more elsewhere. How could they possibly not come in first place with this method? Seeing their excitement, Yi Qingtang didn't burst their bubble. She hadn't seen any other sleeping flowers elsewhere other than beside the lake. They could only go deeper into the Wailing Well if they wanted to find more sleeping flowers. Chapter 2404. Tragic 1. Yi Qingtang calculated the number of demons here and estimated the number of demons the strongest teams would have killed. With their hoard of demon crystals, they should be able to secure first place. But this might not be the case in another few days' time. Yi Qingtang was well aware that the true test was not in the number of demons killed, but in the mutual fighting among the teams. No matter how many demons you kill beforehand and obtained how many demon crystals, the strongest teams would definitely pursue and eliminate the other teams in the final 2 days so that they could rob them of their crystals. In this way, not only could you eliminate the competition, you could obtain more crystals. When Yi Qingtang first heard the rules, she already knew that the infighting in the final 2 days would be the key. So it didn't matter if your team only had a few demon crystals. As long as you could eliminate the other teams, the remaining one would be the victor. This was also why Yi Qingtang didn't immediately have her team hunt for demons. The sleeping flower was just an unexpected bonus. Since they were able to get a large number of demon crystals without much effort, she would never pass on such a good deal. All was fair in the team competition. The most powerful would prevail, and the teams would do anything just to win. So Yi Qingtang didn't stop Lei Yin and the rest from looking for the sleeping flower. After all, it was a rare plant, and they might be able to make use of it in the final 2 days. But Lei Yin and the others didn't manage to find another sleeping flower, even after searching for a long time. They were very disappointed. Boss, are there any special places with certain conditions in which sleeping flowers need to flourish? We can't keep searching for it blindly. Who knows how long we will take to find more? Lei Yin sighed. They had searched for an entire day, but couldn't find even a single petal. A smile was on her face, just as she was about to say something when the faint smell of blood wafted over. Get up into the trees, Yi Qingtang ordered. In the blink of an eye, everyone hid in the dense tree branches. After a short while, a wretched-looking team appeared where they had stood. That team was really looking very pathetic. They were wearing Netherworld Academy uniforms, and the teacher was stained all over with blood. A massive wound covered his shoulder and abdomen. He clutched his abdomen tightly to keep the wound closed, to prevent his intestines from spilling out. That teacher was pretty powerful. Otherwise, a normal practitioner would have already been killed by such a grievous injury. Even so, he was extremely pallid, and there was not a pot of color on his face. His eyes were also starting to daze over. Is that thing still chasing us? The teacher gritted his teeth and forced out that question. No. The teenagers supporting him answered uneasily. Those teenagers also had deep wounds. The gruesome sight of the bone beneath and the splayed flesh was startling. The teacher gave a heavy sigh before finally letting himself collapse down by a tree. All of the teenagers on the team were gravely injured. Who knew what kind of hell they had experienced? How is Suyu? The teacher's eyes were already becoming unfocused. He leaned against the tree as he asked in a weak voice. Chapter 24:05. Tragic 2. The eyes of the teenagers instantly turned red at his question. Teacher, Suyu. Suyu, he's gone. The teenager choked out the words. He would never forget the sight of his teammate being torn apart by that monster. Suyu's living body had been torn apart just like that. The teacher took a deep breath. Visibly struggling, he took off his space ring and handed it to the teenager beside him. Share the elixirs inside with everyone. Apart from a tripod, over a dozen demon crystals, and the teleportation talisman, there was only one bottle of elixir inside the space ring. Suyu was the only medicine faculty student in their team. He had hurriedly refined this bottle of elixir during a rare period of rest. And now, there were only 5 pills left inside that bottle. Everyone in the team had sustained grave injuries, and the elixirs were only basic healing pills. They were completely inadequate to treat their critical conditions. Teacher, hurry up and take the medicine. One of the teenagers wiped his tears before holding up all 5 elixirs to the teacher's lips. Their teacher would not have suffered such fatal injuries if he hadn't tried to save them. There are only so few. The teacher looked at the pitiful number of elixirs. His face grew increasingly grim as he shook his head. My injuries are too grave. This medicine is useless to me. Go and give them to those who have suffered the most serious injuries. Then crush the teleportation talisman. The teacher closed his eyes after uttering those final words. He would never have chosen to activate the teleportation talisman if not for their dire straits. Once activated, this meant they would be disqualified from the competition. Their life-and-death struggle, the sacrifice of one of their students. It had all been for nothing. The teenagers surrounded their teacher, all weeping uncontrollably. They had fought with every ounce of their strength and will, only to end up with such an outcome. Just as they were engulfed by their sorrow, a figure flashed across their heads. Within seconds, those teenagers instinctively gripped their weapons and looked at the figure who had just appeared. Who's there? The teacher gave a low shout. He forced himself to stand up so that he could protect his students. But seeing the uniform on the newcomer, he heaved a sigh of relief. It was the Netherworld Academy uniform. Yi Qing. The teacher immediately recognized the youth standing before him. It was that young punky Qing, right? The teenagers who had all gone on high alert instantly relaxed on seeing that it was Yi Qing. Seeing that their teacher had exposed himself, Lei Yin and the others also jumped off their perches. Yi Qingtang looked at the wretched state of the other team and couldn't help frowning slightly. The teacher was called Lu Yuanxiang, and she knew of him even from before the competition. His cultivation level was comparable to hers, and he was a highly respected teacher. The demons here were challenging, but not so formidable as to be able to inflict such grave injuries on a Divine Lord 5th Heaven level practitioner. Moreover, amongst the Netherworld Academy teams, Lu Yuanxiang's team was only second to hers. His team had students who were ranked just below hers. What the hell had happened that resulted in Lu Yuanxiang and his team being so seriously injured? Yi Qingtang was full of questions. Even so, she knew that this was not the right time to ponder them. Chapter 24:06. Tragic 3. Without wasting another second, Yi Qingtang immediately went over to Lu Yuanxiang and crouched down beside him. Taking out some elixirs from her space ring, she gave them to Lu Yuanxiang. Lu Yuanxiang looked at the elixirs that Yi Qing was offering him. There was a conflicted expression on his face. Like many other Netherworld Academy teachers, he had never acknowledged Yi Qing as one of them. He had no clear lineage and was too young. In addition, he had forced Yi Nua to leave. Lu Yuanxiang had not been as outwardly hostile as the other teachers, but he also never stood on Yi Qing's side. Who would have thought? He had to accept his help today. Thank you. Helpless, Lu Yuanxiang thanked him before consuming the elixirs. Shortly after, Yi Qing retrieved a large stash of elixirs and tossed them at Yun Shun and the others. Give these out to the others. Yun Shun and the rest immediately doled out the elixirs to the teenagers in Lu Yuanxiang's team. The exhausted teenagers heaved a sigh of relief after consuming the elixirs. This is for nourishing the blood. This is for readjusting your energy flow. This is just take them all for now. Lei Yin grabbed a bunch of pills and shoved them into the mouth of the teenager in front of him. The teenager was stunned. It should be pointed out that no one was allowed to bring any elixirs into this competition. After entering the Wailing Well, elixirs had become the most precious life-preserving tools. For their team, they only consumed their elixirs under the most desperate circumstances. Even so, their supply of elixirs had nearly run out. But Lei Yin and the others were sharing their elixirs as if they were on free flow, shoving handfuls of them into their mouths. All sorts of elixirs, just to be safe and help them recover. Did you guys secretly sneak in elixirs? One of the teenagers asked in a low voice. Lei Yin was taken aback. Who would dare to? We would have been automatically disqualified. We refined all of these inside the Wailing Well. Don't worry, it's completely in line with the rules. The youth was even more shocked, and the other teenagers looked equally stunned. So many elixirs? Just the act of foraging for enough herbs to refine so many elixirs would take up a large amount of time, not to mention the process of refining them. What had they been doing inside the Wailing Well? Had they just been refining elixirs and doing nothing else? Yin Shun and Song Yanhan were both from the medicine faculty and knew the basics of medical treatment. They started to treat the wounds of those teenagers. Meanwhile, Yi Qingtang tended to Lu Yuanxiang, who had suffered the most serious injuries. Even Lu Yuanxiang didn't expect Yi Qing to have so many elixirs. If not for Lei Yan's answer, he would have also suspected that he had snuck them in from outside. Teacher Yi. Lu Yuanxiang's voice was raspy. He looked at Yi Qing, who was busy treating his injuries. Don't speak. Your injuries are very grave, and you will die if I don't tend to them now, Yi Qing said. Lu Yuanxiang moved his lips again, but he remained silent. Instead, the eyes of the teenagers from his team reddened after hearing Yi Qing's words. Disregarding their own wounds, they ran over. Teacher Yi, please save our teacher. We beg you. Please, you must save him. Yi Qingtang didn't speak. Lu Yuanxiang's injuries were even more serious than she imagined. Not only was his skin and flesh ripped open, but there were also deep purple spots scattered across his wounds. He had been poisoned. Yi Qingtang had seen quite a number of demons inside the Wailing Well, but had never encountered one that was venomous. As she pondered over this, she carved off the rotten flesh, applied more medicine, before slowly sewing up the gaping wound. Chapter 2407 Accident 1. Lu Yuanxiang was even more powerful than Yi Qingtang, and he specialized in physical cultivation. His physical body was far stronger than your usual person. If someone else had suffered his degree of injury, that person would have already died on the spot. Yi Qingtang sewed up his wound before smearing another large amount of medicine. Only then did she finally manage to bring Lu Yuanxiang back from the brink of death. Lu Yuanxiang was still looking very pallid, but at least his life was now out of immediate danger. What did you guys encounter? How did you sustain such severe injuries? Yi Qingtang finally got the chance to ask. Lu Yuanxiang shook his head. I don't know. What? Yi Qingtang was taken aback. Lu Yuanxiang took a deep breath. His face grew increasingly bitter and pained, as if he was recalling some horrifying memory. We were just chasing after a small-sized demon when we met that monster. Before we had a chance to take a good look, it burrowed out of the ground. At that moment, Lu Yuanxiang and his team never imagined that they were going to meet their worst crisis ever. While they were hunting that demon, the ground beneath their feet suddenly split open and a massive claw burst out. Before they could react, they were sent flying into the air by a tremendous force. The Wailing Well was already very dark and murky. When a monster broke through, it raised a huge cloud of dust, and they could only vaguely see that it was something shockingly gigantic. Just a single paw alone was enough to cover a 100-meter radius. We were not able to defend ourselves at all. That monster's power was completely different from the other demons here. An Emperor level, it might even have been above the Emperor level. I have never seen anything like that. I was unable to protect my students. I am useless. Lu Yuanxiang felt like his heart was being torn apart when he recalled that scene. He had fought to the death to save his students when that monster's claw gently brushed against his chest. It was just a gentle brush, but it tore a huge hole in the powerful body of this practitioner who specialized in physical cultivation. Luckily, that monster didn't chase after them. Otherwise, they would have all been destroyed. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. Since Lu Yuanxiang didn't get a clear look at that monster, she could not analyze what kind of monster it was. But regardless, the cultivation level of that monster had already far surpassed what the teams could endure. Emperor level and above? An Emperor level monster alone was not something that any of them could handle. Lu Yuanxiang took a deep breath and struggled to calm himself. Yi Qing, thank you. For the first time, Lu Yuanxiang felt that this strange youth was not as unreasonable as he believed. Your injuries are no longer life-threatening, but you are in no condition to continue the competition. Yi Qingtang looked at Lu Yuanxiang. Lu Yuanxiang was well aware of the situation. After knowing the team competition's rules, any logical person would infer that the most powerful teams would soon start to eliminate the other teams. It would be a bloodbath. Meanwhile, he and his students were injured and exhausted. They were no longer in any condition to continue the fight. I know. I will have them crush the teleportation talisman soon and leave this place. Yi Qing, if not for you, I would have probably died in this place. Thank you. Lu Yuanxiang was sincere. With that, he called the teenager with the space ring over. Chapter 2408, Accident 2. Our team cannot go on, but you are part of the Netherworld Academy. Previously, we encountered another Netherworld Academy team and heard from them about your team. Lu Yuanxiang paused and nodded at the teenager. The teenager took out their demon crystals from the space ring. There were over a dozen of them. These are the demon crystals we have collected over the past few days. We cannot continue with the competition, but we can give these to you. Yi Qing, I know you are a cautious person, unwilling to take risks. But this time, the Netherworld Academy really cannot afford to lose. You have Ran Mo, Qin Feng, and the others under you. You guys are our greatest hope. Refining elixirs is important, but please have a bit more courage from now on. This is my only request. There are no traces of mockery in Lu Yuanxiang's words. He was only considering the fate of the Netherworld Academy. Yi Qingtang took in Lu Yuanxiang's words and knew that he must have met Xiaonan's team earlier. She sighed. Lu Yuanxiang's demon crystals were important, but how could not take them? They were exchanged with the blood and tears of Lu Yuanxiang's team. If they gave up their crystals, their results would be 0. They lost one teammate while everyone else was seriously injured, only to end up with nothing. These demon crystals were too much of a burden, so she could not bear to take them. There's no need. We have our own demon crystals, Yi Qingtang replied. Lu Yuanxiang thought that Yi Qing was just trying to maintain some pride. He continued, Yi Qing, they told me that you didn't kill any demons over the past few days. Please accept these demon crystals as a token of our gratitude. Yi Qingtang knew what Lu Yuanxiang was saying. To dispel his doubts, she opened her space ring. Inside the space ring were rows of demon crystals. There were dozens of them. The sight stunned Lu Yuanxiang in his silence. These demon crystals, I appreciate your kind gesture, but I cannot accept your demon crystals. Don't worry, I will not tarnish the name of our academy. Yi Qing promised solemnly. Even without the sleeping flower, there would be other ways. Yi Qingtang had all sorts of methods to get to those demons without shedding any blood. This was also why she had been in no hurry from the start. Even now, she had plenty of ideas on how to get more demon crystals. She could not accept these demon crystals, which were stained with so much blood. Lu Yuanxiang was filled with astonishment. He thought that Yi Qing's situation was as described by that earlier team. After all, he had personally seen Yi Qing take out so many elixirs. And so it deepened his belief that the youth had spent the entire time preparing elixirs, without making any move against the demons. But He never expected Yi Qing to have obtained so many demon crystals, several times more than their stash. Meanwhile, Yi Qing's team members looked completely unharmed and not at all fatigued. With much effort, Lu Yuanxiang raised his blood-drenched hands and grasped onto Yi Qing's hands. Yi Qing, it's all in your hands now. The final hope of the Netherworld Academy rests on you. I will do my best, Yi Qingtang promised. Having obtained Yi Qing's promise, Lu Yuanxiang finally smiled. Then he turned and spoke to his team. Come, let's leave this place. The teenager with the talisman wiped his tears and nodded. Although reluctant, he knew that they had no other choice. Chapter 2409 Accident 3 Outside the Wailing Well, when she watched the wretched state of Lu Yuanxiang's team with helplessness and sorrow. Lu Yuanxiang was one of the most outstanding and promising teachers in the Netherworld Academy. Both Wen Qi and Wu Fengling held him in high regard. Wen Qi never expected Lu Yuanxiang to fail to endure to the end of the competition. What the hell was that monster? Did you guys get a clear look? Wen Qi turned toward the others in the crowd. The spectators from the various academies all looked very grim and solemn. There shouldn't be any creatures which are above the Emperor level in this team competition. Shouldn't? Didn't you all see what happened just now? Wen Qi's voice was frosty. The team competition would be challenging, but it would not be so far beyond the limits of the competitors. If push came to shove, they might be able to accept the presence of an Emperor-level monster. But above the Emperor level, even the Academy leaders at present would not be able to defend themselves against something like that, not to mention those in the competition. After all, this competition was not about sending these elite students to their death. There would be a limit on the difficulty level. We don't know much about the Wailing Well. We need to ask people from Universe City. The vice president of the Heaven Dome Academy also looked grim. The teams from his school had all performed very well over the past few days, but if they encountered a monster like that, he didn't even dare to think about the outcome. It should be pointed out that all the students in this team competition were the top talents of their academies. They were extremely precious to their schools. The family clans behind these elite students alone were a formidable presence. If there were multiple deaths and serious injuries, it would create a major uproar. I will go and ask. Luo Sheng spoke up. When she nodded, the other academies were also fearful. They secretly rejoiced that it was not their own teams who encountered that monster. It is still not too late now. Lu Yuanxiang is a smart man, and he can tell when things have become too serious. They will be safe as long as they leave the Wailing Well. One of the teachers comforted him, but the rest of them were still worried. Who knew where that monster was hiding now? What could they do if the other teams encountered it? Stationed on the outside, they were helpless. While they could see everything that happened to the teams in the Wailing Well, but they could not communicate with them. They could not even inform the other teams of this new development. Wen Qi looked very upset, but he knew that there was no other way. He instructed his men to prepare medical treatment for Lu Yuanxiang's team before continuing to watch the screen in the big hall. He heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Lu Yuanxiang instruct his student to crush the teleportation talisman. But before he fully exhaled, something unexpected happened. The moment the teleportation talisman was crushed, Lu Yuanxiang's team waited to be transported out of the Wailing Well. Finally, they would be leaving this terrifying place. They were reluctant, but were already resigned to their fate. However, even after the talisman was completely crushed, the team remained on the same spot in the Wailing Well. What's going on? Lu Yuanxiang was shocked. The teenager who crushed the talisman was also stunned. He looked at the crushed talisman in his hand, his eyes filled with confusion. I don't know. I've already crushed it. Why are we still here? Chapter 2410 Faulty Talisman. One impossible. Lu Yuanxiang struggled to move forward to check the teenager's hand. The crushed remnants of that talisman were all that remained in that hand. This sudden change in the situation filled everyone with anxiety. Is this a faulty talisman? Don't tell me someone tampered with it? Yin Shan frowned slightly. The entrance to the Wailing Well only allowed people to enter, and no one could exit from it. The rules also stated clearly that the only way to leave the Wailing Well was to use the teleportation talisman. But crushing the talisman meant that the team would be disqualified. No team would do that under normal circumstances. This talisman has been in my space ring the entire time. I did not take it out even once before this. No one should have been able to tamper with it. Lu Yuanxiang was frowning deeply. His body was already wrecked with exhaustion and intense pain. This new situation was an added burden. Their team was in no condition to remain inside the Wailing Well. If not for Yi Qing, Lu Yuanxiang would have probably died here. The rest of the team were all gravely injured, and they could not possibly continue in such a dangerous environment. They wouldn't even be able to handle any adult demons now, not to mention that powerful monster earlier. Lu Yuanxiang looked increasingly grim. The teenagers in his team were also panicking. No one knew what was going on. The teleportation talismans had been handed out to everyone at the same time. Lu Yuanxiang immediately kept his team's talisman into his space ring the moment he received it. He thought that they would never need to use the teleportation talisman. Now, it had become their sole chance of survival. But this route to survival had disappeared right before their eyes. Despair engulfed the entire team. Boss, what's going on? Why did their teleportation talisman fail? Jing Zhe couldn't help feeling puzzled. As the crucial life-saving tool, there should have been zero mistakes in its preparation. For the moment, Yi Qingtang also had no idea what was going on. She took out their own talisman from her space ring and examined it. There appeared to be nothing wrong with it. It would be useless even if Yi Qingtang handed their teleportation talisman to Lu Yuanxiang. Each talisman was assigned to fixed members. Even if she handed her talisman to someone else to activate, her team would be the ones teleported out. Teacher, what should we do? The teenagers looked at Lu Yuanxiang in helpless panic. They had encountered a powerful monster and were all gravely injured. It would be certain death for them if they remained in the Wailing Well. Lu Yuanxiang looked increasingly ashen. He knew how severe things were now. Don't worry. Yi Qingtang spoke up as she looked at Lu Yuanxiang's increasingly pale face. Teacher Yi, do you have a plan? Lu Yuanxiang looked at Yi Qing. He had disdained this youth previously, but he was now looking at this very same youth as his final hope at survival. Yi Qingtang glanced at the two small balls floating above them. Vice President and the others can see our situation via those balls. They should have noticed something is wrong. We cannot confirm what happened with your talisman, but this does not prevent us from conveying a message to them. Chapter 2411, Faulty Talisman 2. With that, Yi Qingtang took off her coat and bit her finger. With blood from her finger, she wrote some words on her coat, then displayed her words at the balls. Lu Yuanxiang's teleportation talisman is not working. Entire team is seriously injured. Urgent medical attention needed. The balls transmitted those blood-red words to Wenqi's eyes. Wenqi thought Lu Yuanxiang's team would be out of danger once they activated the teleportation talisman. When he saw the talisman crushed, but Lu Yuanxiang's team remained standing there, he was very shocked. Following that, he saw Yi Qing's message and the dread rose in the pit of his stomach. Wenqi's face grew extremely grim. What is going on? How did the teleportation talisman fail? Wenqi stood up, his face filled with shock. The teleportation talisman was the only way to safely transport people out. The consequences of a talisman not working was unimaginable. The other academy folks were similarly stunned. Lu Yuanxiang's team was the first to activate the teleportation talisman. No one had discovered this anomaly yet. The teleportation talisman failed to work? How is that possible? Wenqi, what exactly happened to your team? The other academy leaders gathered around him. Wenqi told everyone what happened to Lu Yuanxiang's team. Everyone's faces instantly darkened. Faulty talismans and a monster above emperor level inside the Wailing Well. If this goes on, it's a catastrophe waiting to happen. One of the Heaven Dome Academy teachers stated gravely. They could not confirm now if Lu Yuanxiang's teleportation talisman was the only faulty one, or if all the talismans did not work. If it was the former, things were not as bad. If it was the latter, they did not even want to imagine the consequences. Go and find the Universe City organizers. Have them explain what the hell is happening. One of the vice presidents commanded in a low voice. The academies all sent their own men to find people from Universe City. But before they had even left the hall, they bumped into Luo Sheng, who had left earlier. There's no need for you to go. Luo Sheng was frowning deeply as he looked at the academy folks. His voice was very tense. What do you mean? Luo Sheng took a deep breath before turning toward the worried-looking Wenqi. The Universe City people have all disappeared. What? Exclamations echoed throughout the hall. What do you mean by all disappeared? Luo Sheng replied. I have searched every corner of Universe City. Those people in charge of the Inter-Academy competition have all disappeared. The Inter-Academy competition was a competition between the various academies that were fighting for the chance to enter the God Relic. The academies all had a personal interest in the competition, so to ensure a fair fight, the Universe City folks were put in charge of the Inter-Academy competition. They were the first people to discover the God Relic and were very powerful and well-respected. There had not been any accidents in any of the previous year's competitions. But unexpectedly, they had suddenly disappeared. Luo Sheng's news was like a bolt of lightning, striking everyone on the head. The other academies did not believe Luo Sheng's words that easily. They still rushed out to confirm if he was speaking the truth. The academy leaders remained in the hall, gazing at Yi Qing's bloody message. Their faces were extremely grim. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.